Hi, my name is Devin Knight, and welcome back to our series called Who Is, where you're learning a little bit about our Pragmatic Works employees. Today we actually have our President of Consulting, Adam Jorgensen, and you're going to learn a little bit about what Adam does here with us. So Adam, first of all, that's probably the great place to start. What do you do with Pragmatic Works? I told you their title, but what does that mean?
Yeah, I think it means a lot of things over the years, right? We've had so much growth. So really, my primary focus is around our strategy, go-to-market, what's happening in the industry, making sure our teams are prepared, making sure we're delivering things that our clients not only care about, but are also helping them move forward and think strategically. And so I have all up responsibility for our strategy, go-to-market, partners, etc.
All around consulting services,
Right.
Even bigger picture than that in some cases.
Right.
So you've actually been here for a number of years now. How many years has it been?
Coming up on 7.
7, wow.
Yes.
So how did you come to Pragmatic Works? A lot of people like to know kind of your story of how you came. How did you end up being here?
Sure. Most of the time in a car. One time I rode my bike.
Okay.
Brian Knight, who's our founder, your brother, our CEO, has had a lot of relationships over the years, and he and I shared some of those, networking relationships, and we got introduced a number of years ago when the company was very new, right, as DTS Exchange was launching, and we were sort of changing the landscape for developers in the BI space.
Right.
And he and I got together and started talking and said, it'd be great if we could also help implement these solutions and help customers really move the needle on their company. And from there, we decided to trial getting a consulting organization going, and it's taken off from there. We've gotten to have a lot of great people on the team and see a lot of great people develop and a lot of great clients over the years.
Yes, that's one interesting thing. A lot of people don't realize how Pragmatic Works or originated was a software company specifically around DTS Exchange and converting old SQL 2000 packages, DTS packages to SSIS. So if you didn't know that origin story, that's the start of Pragmatic Works. As part of working with consulting services, what are some of the trends that you've seen either from the past or going into the future, really? What, as a whole with consulting services, and then maybe specifically with Pragmatic Works, what are some of the things to come in the future?
Sure, it's a good question. I think really for most organizations, they're trying to figure out what are the technology areas they need to invest in, but at the same time, the business is just trying to solve problems.
Right.
And I think we're seeing a greater degree of tension sometimes between the line of business and IT. Mm-hmm. IT's trying to do their good work of keeping systems on and improving them, but the business is trying to move faster and faster. And I think that for consulting and for the type of work that we do as a whole, our ability to help both the business move faster, help IT support that speed, and bring them together, that's really a very particular type of value that I think we provide, right? Yeah. We can bring and, help the business think in terms of being a business and help IT understand how to do that maybe a little bit better, but also continue to adopt new technologies, new processes, new best practices, and bring those together to really move the needle for the business. From a Pragmatic Works perspective, we're doing so much work in the analytics space, cloud, integrating those solutions, bringing your on-premise traditional environments up into more of an elastic scale, pay-as-you-go, flexible model so that the business can really get started very quickly, right? They want to be able to try something and fail and try again, There's so many tools and services out there that they can take advantage of.
Right.
I think we're really ramping and providing that opportunity for them to try new things, try things faster, but also connect the dots with their corporate department so that they're not causing friction inside the company. They're really moving the whole company forward.
Sure. So there's a lot of services and consulting companies out there that do what we do in general. Mm-hmm. What sets us apart from others?
Well, we're obviously better, Devin. I mean, I don't know how much more simply I can put that. I think that it's a big sandbox, and I think that's one of the reasons that we have such good relationships even with some other companies that people would say, oh, they're a competitor, and we're all at the same conferences. We work even in some of the same customers in some cases, but Pragmatic Works has always been built on the principle of we don't want to be the organization that comes in and parks in a corner and stays there for 3 years, right? We want to come in and, I keep saying move your needle, right? Get you ahead, do it in an agile way, equip your team, leave them with training options to self-support, the right tools, the right best practices, and great relationships with folks at Microsoft or other vendors and other partners we want to leave you with a holistic solution. A lot of other companies are really great at delivering or building a solution, but they're not necessarily focused on equipping your whole organization to make either a tactical improvement or just an all-up cultural improvement. And I think we're doing both.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. We started as a software company, so having software and training and services all part of our company, there's not many consulting services companies that do all three of those things.
Very few, if any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we do them better.
Right. Oh, copies.
Obviously. Right?
So one of the things I know you're really passionate about, and this goes along with our services and what sets us apart, is really fostering a proper data culture with our customers.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean? What is a data culture, and what does a good data culture look like?
Well, I think a lot of companies are trying to figure that out right now. And I think that's another thing that sets us apart. We have the unique perspective that comes with working with hundreds and hundreds of clients a year and seeing the good, the bad, the ugly, and what's really working and where customers are struggling. And I think that when you look at a data culture, data is the most valuable asset an organization has. And so to really truly have a good data culture, the entire organization from the top levels of management all the way through every level of employee needs to realize the most important thing in that organization is the information that it produces and the ability of the organization to leverage that, to either make decisions, to create new products, to do research. Organizations are always looking for ways to make better data-driven decisions, but we've all been in that meeting where everybody comes with the report, and the report has 5 different numbers on it, right? Depending upon who pulled it.
Yeah.
Having a data culture means that people understand data fluency, which is how do we read our own data? How do we understand our own information? How do we use it as a core of communication as opposed to political conversations, or my team knows this better, or use the information to drive conversation, decisions, and progress. And if you can all agree to do that and rely on the facts and trust the facts and use those to influence what you're doing, you're on your way to starting to build a really great data culture. And then there's things on top of it, like making sure that your team is equipped to be able to use that data by learning all the latest tools and using things like Power BI and Microsoft solutions, or analytics tools, and being able to leverage the data beyond just trusting it.
Yeah, I like one of the things you've said just now, and I think I've heard you say it in the past as well, is actually putting a value to your data. What if your data is gone tomorrow? What does that mean to your company? So that kind of drives, how do you deal with high availability issues and other things. So thinking that way will drive technology discussions, but it's probably the best way to start is think about how do you value data?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time in most organizations putting physical assets on balance sheets, right? Like printers and laptops and monitors and cubicles and buildings. I guarantee most companies would trade all of that to be able to keep their data. And when you have that conversation with them at that level and you put that ultimatum in place, it's eye-opening. Right? And I think a lot of companies are beginning to realize not only the quote unquote value of the data, but an actual monetary value. And they're putting it even on their balance sheet as an intangible asset and really tracking, how they're getting value out of the data, how they're leveraging it, and what it really is doing for the organization.
So let me change gears a little bit here. From a technology standpoint, in future, looking forward, what are some of the things that you're really excited about from a technology standpoint?
So just actually this week, Microsoft had their Build conference, which is really exciting. And there's a few things that got announced during Build, like some of the new analytics bots, right? So being able to get analytic capabilities that just talk to each other, and being able to have applications make decisions. And now for some people that might be a little Skynet, that might be a little scary, right? Nobody wants their toaster making a decision for them. But that's not really what we're talking about, right? We're talking about apps that make our lives better. That's what Microsoft's trying to do. They're trying to build things that make everybody's life better, whether that's equipping a corporation to build a better product, or, you and me to be able to get a lot more value out of our Surface, for example, right? I think that the things that I'm most excited about are really around how Azure and cloud solutions are enabling every kind of partner and every kind of ISV and organization to just iterate so quickly, right? We can try and build and keep coming up with new ideas, and creating an ecosystem like that. Satya Nadella mentioned in one of his keynotes that data is, really driving a new industrial revolution, and that's kind of how I look at it too. There's so many things that are changing. There's a whole new undercurrent of capabilities and tools that people who haven't even been lifetime technical professionals can just pick up, start using, start creating businesses and industries and value And I think that's really incredibly exciting because it gives us an opportunity to constantly have new areas where we can jump in and help, right? Because all of that is going to float on the back of data and insight, and I think that's pretty exciting.
So one of the things you mentioned was leveraging the cloud, leveraging Azure, Microsoft's cloud. In the past, a lot of companies have had are kind of standoffish about putting data in the cloud. But there's a lot of ways now that, and a lot of arguments that are, I think, very positive for the cloud, even in those situations. Kind of share some of those if you can. What are some reasons or some arguments that you have that, I don't want to say negate, but help people understand that it's not such a negative thing to think about the cloud and putting your data in there? What are some of the things that you use or talk about?
There's a couple big ones, right? So the European Union, the EU, has some of the toughest data restrictions in the world, privacy restrictions, security regulation. Azure's the only cloud that meets all those restrictions. Amazon's doesn't, Google's doesn't yet. Microsoft has taken a huge investment and huge steps to make sure that anything you give them is going to be taken care of. And it's going to be regulated appropriately. It's going to be in compliance. The other thing I like to ask folks is if they've ever toured a Microsoft data center. So I have gotten to tour a Microsoft data center, and I have toured most customer data centers. They don't look alike, Devin, is what I'm telling you. One is billions of dollars and has armed guards and dogs and huge cybersecurity and advanced threat analytics that are running on it all the time. And the other one has a guy with a key fob to get in, right? Not taking anything away from those, but I think if we have an opportunity to move our infrastructure and our processes up there, you're paying for everything in that data center in your building all the time.
Right.
And you may have a big server that you had to buy that's 120 cores because you need those cores twice a month.
Right.
And when you need them in the cloud, we just scale up, scale down, scale up, scale down, all dynamically, right as part of your process. We can operationalize it, save a lot of money. The biggest one, though, is the price for compute and resources in the cloud. It's not going up.
Right.
It's going down. And so you may go spend $50,000, $200,000, $1 million in cloud investment. But the reality is that same cloud investment next year will probably cost $750,000 or $10,000 or $500, right? That is a huge game changer because now you're deploying systems and infrastructures and, business. You're doing business in the cloud.
Yeah.
And your cost is actually ratcheting down. The cost to put something on premise is going to continue to go up. The cost of the individuals that have to support the AC and the power and all of that, where those folks could be retargeted to work on, later, newer technology and newer solutions, which is really what they want to be doing anyway. So you get higher employee satisfaction, a lot better agility and cost savings, and you're handling things like patching and HA and availability all in a much more automatic fashion. So it's generally just a much better holistic solution, but it is a journey and customers have to find their own way there.
And you see probably most companies are going with more of a hybrid approach first, or and maybe all to beginning and to end of time it's more of a hybrid approach. But
it might be.
It's definitely an exciting time for that area. All right, so let me ask you a few more personal things here. This is where it gets really exciting. By the way, this is from marketing, so they'll to plug in that these questions come from them here. This particular one does.
Will we be re-interviewing marketing? Because I know they all got all their interviews out of the way before I was able to submit questions.
We could maybe re-interview some of them. You plug in some questions.
We could do like a panel interview.
That would be
I'll just ask them all questions.
That would be interesting.
We'll work it out for you guys. We'll figure it out.
All right, so here's a good one. I think this actually might be relevant from today's lunch.
Oh boy.
So if you could do one thing during an extended lunch, maybe you had a 2-hour lunch period.
Wow.
What would you do during that lunchtime?
That sounds luxurious. A 2-hour lunch.
Yeah. Something within 5 miles of here, really close, that you might be able to try out. They're leaning you towards a tractor.
I do believe that there's been several conversations about a tractor dealership that is pretty close to here, and we have talked about hypothetically going to the tractor dealership, doing concurrent test drives, and then racing the tractors across the fields.
Yes.
And then jumping back in the car and leaving and coming back to work. I don't want to say we've been really far down the planning path on that. You pretty much know what I know at this point.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a lot of fun because we're talking very large tractors. Not like a lawnmower on steroids. I'm talking about something with a door that closes. Right. Something I can raise and lower in the front.
I think they just wanted to get you on camera saying that.
Oh, I think it's a great idea. They're just as excited about it as I am.
Here's another good one that we collaborated on a bit.
Okay.
What's one thing you bought that your wife was not happy about?
Oh, one thing?
You could say list top 5 things.
I have to narrow this down to one thing? So Devin's getting me on this because he knows my mentality is a little bit more to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I have picked up several things over the years that we'll call projects. Those have been followed by lots of Amazon purchases that may or may not have shown up in giant batches at the front door. I think the only time she really got upset, because she loves me and supports me and she's amazing, and if she watches this video I want to make sure she hears that. We were out of town actually, and we came back and I had known some things were going to get delivered on Friday. The rest of them were supposed to be delivered on Monday, but apparently Amazon did a great job and they all got there on Friday, and the UPS delivery guy or gal had piled them up the front door like a wall of purchases. And it didn't look great.
Right.
And some of them were kind of heavy, and it just, after a long drive home, I think it was a combination of things.
Right.
You know, they were escorted to the garage very quickly, and we tried not to talk about it.
This was for like a vehicle, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
The vehicle didn't come in boxes, but
it did not. It did not come in boxes, but parts did, tools did. The vehicle probably could have left in boxes by the time we were done. We'll call that an unsuccessful project.
It's all right. Hey, at least you can admit it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So how about this? Let me ask you some of your favorites things here. What's a favorite vehicle? Seeing we're talking about vehicles.
Favorite vehicle. Favorite vehicle I would love to own, or favorite vehicle I've ever owned?
That you would. Let's do both. Let's start with what you'd like to own.
Okay. What I'd like to own is probably. Oh man, it's a really tough question. So I actually think I would really like to own probably 2 different vehicles. So one, I'm a big fan of Land Rover Defenders. They're very hard to get here, so that'll probably never happen. Older Toyota Land Cruisers, so 79 to 81, those are great vehicles. You can see a trend here. All of these are basically non-pavement vehicles. The bucket list vehicle, which I cannot ever imagine my wife letting me park in the driveway, would be like a late 70s Unimog, which is a big Mercedes, awesome people carrier, mountain driver Rover. It's fantastic.
I have rode on one of those. They're pretty awesome.
I know. The favorite car I think I ever owned was actually probably my first car, which was a Dodge Neon, which I was... Yep.
Really?
Yep, it was.
Was not expecting that.
Nope. Because since then it's been trucks. But I really love that car. It was actually a great little car until it started to have a lot of problems later on and got rid of it. But, first car, still my favorite.
Interesting.
So
was not expecting.
It was a lot better than my dad's '89 Buick Century that I got to drive for a while that didn't have brakes. We slid that car around a lot.
Very nice. All right, how about favorite sports team? I know you're a Miami guy, South Florida guy.
Yeah, I'm hanging on to my Dolphins.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. They keep taking players from the Bills, so I'm not sure that's improving anything. I've got some friends that are Bills fans, and they are really enjoying giving all of their players to the Dolphins to free up room for probably better players.
Right.
I really like basketball a lot, so I'm a big Miami Heat fan too, and that's been a lot of fun.
Not Dolphin. Are you a Hurricane fan too?
I grew up a Hurricanes fan. Yeah. My sister went to Florida, so I root for the Gators. I will definitely root for the Hurricanes. I will definitely not root for the Seminoles.
All right, I like that.
So Miami, Florida, or anyone playing Florida State, or anyone playing Georgia, just because. I can't let Ashley have a win.
They've likely seen that interview. Ashley Daines, our marketing director, our marketing VP, huge Dogs fan.
Yes.
Yeah. So you give her a bit of a hard time about that.
We all do. People make bad choices in life, Devin, and it's unfortunate when people have to pick their safety school, and that's that's all I'm saying. Oh. She's done well with it. She's really owned it. Yeah. Turned it into a part of her identity, which I really give her a lot of credit for. Most people would
she admits to it.
Most people would be embarrassed, honestly, and And I think that it's great that she's risen above it, really. So I think that's good.
All right, let's end on this one. Favorite office prank that you're willing to share? Maybe preface. I know I have my least favorite.
Yes.
Which is one where you're coming out of the room with a bloody nose.
Right.
I'm getting ready to dial 911.
Right. Right. That was
one of my least favorite.
That was probably most dramatic.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's my favorite. I actually think my favorite is not one I participated in.
Okay.
So as long as that's okay,
yeah.
I'll share the other one. So we went through a period of a number of months that culminated in the one that Devin was talking about.
And that was the end of it, I think.
That was pretty much the end. After that, everybody either had to go to counseling or home, or it was a long day. But the best prank I ever saw, and do not do this to somebody else after I tell you this, was somebody put one of our employees' cars on Craigslist and then put in the description, if you call me, and I don't sound like I know what I'm talking about, it's because my wife is next to me and I have to sell my car to pay off my gambling debts. And so I'm going to act really confused, but just keep asking me how much is the car. And I don't know how many calls he got, but it was close to 100 or over 100. It was a lot of phone calls before we got Craigslist to mark it as spam and kind of take it down. And hands down, super simple, ingenious, maximum penalty on the other person.
That was pretty good.
I think it was just a great, pretty clean, pretty wholesome prank, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one. I don't think anyone's actually shared that one yet, so good to hear that. Well, I think that's great for today.
Good.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview with Adam Jorgensen, our president of consulting, and stay tuned for our next Who Is series. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.